Welcome back to the Oracle Analytics Summit. My name is Alan Lee. I'm part of the product management team for Oracle Analytics. Today, we will be discussing how you as an OBIE customer or OBIE apps customer can modernize your analytics by moving to Oracle Analytics Cloud. Joining me today, later on during the presentation, will be Manpreet Shahi, another member of the Oracle Analytics development team. First of all, I want to indicate there's a Q&A option on your Zoom. So if you want to ask questions during the course of this presentation, please do so in the Q&A, and we may be posting additional information in that area as well. I'd like to start off by talking about Oracle Analytics Cloud and just an overall functional overview. From the perspective of you as a customer, what Oracle Analytics Cloud provides is really comprehensive and modern capabilities for all users across your enterprise or company. Oracle Analytics Cloud provides robust capabilities for governed analytics that really address requirements around secured single source of truth delivered in dashboard and highly formatted reporting. Many of you who are OBIE customers are familiar with many of these capabilities. In addition to governed analytics, Oracle Analytics Cloud provides a modern self-service experience that allows users to explore, prepare, and collaborate with data. And most notably, Oracle Analytics Cloud offers next-generation capabilities around augmented analytics using machine learning and advanced analytics behind the scenes to allow users to interact with language, enrich data, and gain insights automatically. Oracle Analytics Cloud supports open connectivity, so it provides connectors to a variety of data sources that are important to your organization, including your traditional data warehouse platforms, big data systems, SaaS-based systems, and even third-party cloud systems. So highlighting a few capabilities that you as an OBIE customers gain by migrating to Oracle Analytics Cloud. First and foremost, augmented analytics. That allows you and your users to use AI and machine learning to automatically provide insights into your data. Secondly, data enrichment, which provides pattern recognition that detects data semantics and suggests data enrichments based on characteristics such as geography, time, and patterns. Finally, Oracle Analytics Cloud provides a modern user experience that allows users to quickly explore and blend both curated and self-service data. Oracle Analytics Cloud is delivered as an Oracle managed service on Oracle's next generation cloud infrastructure. As a cloud native service, you have a number of benefits. First, the cloud release cadence is quarterly, so you'll get new functionality every quarter, and you'll receive patches on a monthly basis. Second, Oracle Analytics Cloud is a fully managed cloud service. It's available on all OCI regions worldwide. Oracle handles all the admin capabilities, including patching, backup, error detection, and resolving issues. Customers have access to elastic capacity. They can scale up and scale down as needed and start and stop as needed and basically pay for what you use. Oracle Analytics Cloud provides seamless integration with other OCI services like the Autonomous Data Warehouse, data integration platforms that are offered on OCI, and even big data platforms. As a cloud service, it's a simple subscription-based pricing model based on the universal credits, and that includes all updates and support. As an OBIE or OBI apps customer, you can leverage your existing development investments to move to Analytics Cloud. The high-level steps of migration include preparing for migration, which includes the need for planning your service needs, so how many instances, how you want to size those instances, what your data architecture looks like. Next, you'll want to migrate your users and configure security. The Identity Cloud service is used for identity management in the Oracle Analytics Cloud solution. And next, you'll want to actually create your service instances. And this is easy to do via the OCI console. The next major step is migrating your content. So that involves creating snapshots and collecting other metadata archives to move to the OAC environment. Once you've moved these metadata archives to the OAC environment, you'll want to edit connection details as needed, and then restore any content to Oracle Analytics Cloud. After you've migrated the content, some post-migration considerations, including configuring system settings, enabling deliveries, and setting up usage tracking. Now I'd like to bring in Manpreet. One of the key takeaways from this presentation is an understanding of how other customers have moved to Oracle Analytics Cloud from their on-premise Oracle BI implementations. Manpreet and his team have worked with many of these customers and have collected a number of best practices. We'll review these best practices in a Q&A session with Manpreet.
Thank you, Alan. This is Manpreet Shahi. I lead the SEAL team and part of the product development organization. And in the SEAL team, you might know that we have subject matter experts in all the areas with respect to analytics, starting from infrastructure, security, networking, functional, and also we help all the critical escalation situations and also complex engagements when it comes to the migration.
So let's take a look at some of the common questions that many of our customers have when considering moving from on-premise OBI to Oracle Analytics Cloud. The first one is, other than the feature differences, what other differences do you need to consider when moving from OBI EE to Oracle Analytics Cloud?
The first thing that are coming to my mind is that when you're migrating to OAC, you will not have access to OAC VM, meaning you don't have physical access or SSH access to the VM. That means you cannot do any customization and stuff like that. And secondly, the main thing is that Excel export limits are determined by OAC OCPU shapes. And for that, please consider that, whenever you're thinking to migrate to OAC, just get the right use cases so that you can get right OCPU VM. And thirdly, that only small number of configurations are exposed in OAC, not all. So please check the OAC documentation details for that.
And that's a good point, Manpreet. Within the documentation library, we do have both documentations on the functional differences between on-premise and OAC and some of the limits that we set by default within OAC. So we do encourage customers to review the documentation. The next question that we often get is, what versions of OBIE can I migrate to OAC from? We get a lot of questions from 11G customers on what versions, and even there may be some 10G customers and what do they need to do to go to OAC.
Yeah, so with respect, what versions of OBIE that are supported, first one is that, we support OBIE 11.117 plus onwards, and also all versions of OBI 12c. Why, a customer is still on OBI 11.117 because of OBIA. And that's the reason, we have made sure that, we support these two versions. As far as 10G is concerned, OBI 10G is concerned, we don't support that.
So what's the general recommendation? Should they upgrade to the 12C before the migration to OAC? Or
two recommendations, right? One thing is that, they should upgrade to 12C, and second thing is that, start over. Because if migrating to 12C from 10G is going to be long journey. So instead of that, you can just start over in OAC.
So Manpreet, what do you mean by starting over if you're a 10G customer?
So basically two things, right? Because when we migrated customers from 10G to 11G, and there are huge difference in the functionality, infrastructure, and stuff like that. So even though infrastructure is going to change in OAC, and and customer doesn't need to worry about what it is, how the security is being managed and stuff like that. So first of all, just review the documentation, what is going to be supported in OAC, and secondly, that it's not like that you're gonna throw away all your work. So you need to make sure that you can use 12C admin tool to update your repository and then validate the web catalog using 12C. or we can, and because thing is that, the folder structure and the way the web catalog has been deployed in 10G and in 12C and OAC is totally different. So that's why, so you need to migrate your WebCat over to 12C or directly to OAC. I would say not to OAC to 12C, and then do sanity testing in 12C, and then move to OAC. Because thing is that, when you are in 12C, you have access to the logs, and then you can, look at what's happening, why this query is not running fine, why this query is giving different results, and it will be more work for you on your side to review the documentation difference between 10G and 12C and OAC. And OAC and 12C is not that different, but some of things that we are not exposing in OAC that we are exposing in OBI 12C.
So let's take a look at the next question, and this is a fairly loaded question. So what are some of the best practices when migrating content from OBI-EE? I know that there's some questions about using the 11G migration utility, making adjustments to maybe the RPD, things like that. Do you have any best practices when working with some of the customers that you've been engaged with?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Thanks, Alan, for asking this question. The main thing is that, as I always say, first of all, OBI is not or OAC is not a ETL tool. So make sure that, you get your business use cases correctly, especially the Excel export use cases and all the queries that are running over 10 minutes. So you should, note that down from usage tracking, and according to that, based on that input, you can get the right OAC OCPU size, because Excel export configuration is determined by size of the OAC OCPU, right? Larger the OCPU, greater the processing power that you will get, and also the export results. And secondly, I would say that clean the WebCat, remove the user folder that are not migrating to cloud. If you are not doing that, you're going to bring back, a lot of content which will be making the migration go slower. And then you will be facing some performance challenges with respect to when we are restoring bar file or a snapshot into OAC. And also, one of the issues that we have seen in the past that some customers, they are not upgrading when they're migrating from 11G to 12C, or they are not upgrading their WebCat with the latest version. And that will also cause some issues when migrating the content over to OAC. And thirdly, optimize RPD. I have seen many customers, they bring the RPD from on-prem to OAC, and they have not paid due diligence and they clean the RPD, meaning remove the unused data sources and also consolidate init blocks and delete the invalid init blocks. I'm giving an example of OBI customers, right? So they are using, for example, few services, maybe HR or finance, but there are some other subject areas that are present in the RPD which they are not using, but when they're bringing it over, when the RPD is getting uploaded, and there will be some invalid objects and also invalid connections be there in the logs, which we don't want. And also run the consistency check and make sure that fix all errors and warnings. I have seen customers, they are fixing the errors, but not the warnings. If you don't fix those things, so you will be getting into some problems. And then lastly, adjust the number of connections in the connection pool to match your OBIE concurrency usage. So this is more important, and this is also tied to the OCPU shape. So if you have large concurrency, you need to go with the higher OAC OCPU size.
Thanks, Manpreet. Next question. As I mentioned earlier, OAC uses Identity Cloud Service for the identity management platform. Do you have any suggestions on migrating users? And many of our customers use SSO on their on-prem implementations, and how would we do that in the cloud?
Yeah, so we have, clear documentation in configuring the SSO and migrating users and security. So I would suggest that, please review the documentation. And if you have special need, for example, you have your SSO configured with Okta, and we have that available, we need to integrate with ICS. And also, other than that, two things are coming to my mind that in OAC, we don't support initialization-based security model for authentication and authorization. And also EBS ICX cookies, they are not supported in OAC in the current version. So those are the things that you need to keep in mind if you are EBS customer, and if you are using init block security, those two things are not supported in OAC.
Next question. Are there post-migration best practices to consider? So a customer has deployed all their content to LBIE, migrated the users in security. What best practices to consider next?
So, Alan, I think most of things that you have already covered, just like configuration, editing the configuration that is exposed through our system settings, and also configuring the usage tracking. And apart from that, what I will suggest that, just test for the data correctness, right? And also, what I feel that most folks miss is that, they don't plan on running the load test, because we need to run the load test to see if the performance of the OAC system is stable. If it is not, you might considering it, to scale it up to match the use cases of concurrent users.
Thanks, Manpreet. And one more question. We have a number of on-premise customers that are using BI Publisher. Do you have any suggestions for moving BI Publisher content to OAC?
As I said, that everything is covered. Everything will be migrated from on-prem BI Publisher to OAC. And two things are coming to my mind where customers have made changes to the configuration. One is memory guarded number of processes to be used when they're running the BI Publisher. And these two configurations are determined by CPU shapes, and that cannot be changed. So please refer to the Oracle Cloud documentation for details so that you can get correct OAC OCPU size.
Thanks, Manpreet. So those are some of the common questions that many of our customers have when considering moving from OBI to Oracle Analyst Cloud. Thanks for your attention today. It's been a delight to present to you. We hope that the information that we've provided will be helpful for you going forward. Please do check the resources down below. And now we will switch over to live Q&A.